Part 32. So, this is just additional information that you can help identify the spirit of adultery when it's operating. Um, I did touch on in part 31, like the word adulterer and how it sounds like adulterers, and adulterers can terrorize you. For example, I was already talking to Chris. I was already talking to Chris, and um, basically, Simona Daly, this young lady in Orlando, it was PTA Orlando, and she sat behind him. And sometime after her sitting behind him some Sunday, maybe one or two Sundays, then he herds me towards her, and he likes want us all to get together. And then Elder Walker brought up love triangle. Okay. And then I had a discussion with him that I didn't want us to be with Simona. And then there was a time where we were in the house of the Lord, service is over, and she's sitting there in the congregation. Um, and I did something that I saw another young person do, basically to signal that they're with that person. So I did something with my hands, probably over his hands or something, um, for her to get the clue, you know. But I believe she probably knew or picked up that we were talking already. So they would do certain things, and then as time went by, and after Pastor Francis did the switcheroo, and I sought the Lord about the spirit behind that recently, and it was the spirit of envy. Um, One of the things God also revealed that He wasn't about us trading places, but that's what was going to happen, right? Or wanted to happen. Somebody wanted it to happen. But this chipping away at us being together, I believe she got some level of boldness to try to pelt me with game pieces at a Christmas fellowship in 2016 instead of working alongside me, which that's what I expected, right? So these are the things you can understand why I would want you to be aware, because you don't want that to happen to you and get catch you off guard in the house of the Lord. But adulterers will fight. They like fighting because they're self-centered and it's all about what they can get. They don't care about how God feels about you, how God feels about the situation. It's about what they want and how they can get it. um I saw also this situation where this man, he appeared to be proposing to an individual, but it seems as though he had interruptions from church people. And so I asked the Lord what should be done if something like that happens. And I was led to the word press. And basically, he's not talking about, get a news article and write about it. Not that type of press. But basically, to press, to push forward towards the goal and not become distracted. So if people are disrupting you when you are having an intimate moment that you planned for, um, it's good to try to avoid the distractions and press. There's a song that sings, um, it goes like, press along, saints, press along. And so you may experience a lot of things that try to separate you guys, but you got to press. So God already taught me that. um, ask, seek, knock. And then another type of distraction that can happen, you're on the phone. Like, for example, I believe this happened in January of 2017 when I text Christopher Delgado a sample of a wedding invitation for Tampa Bay Aquarium as a venue. And um, and it had a beach theme to it. Um, I believe it was that, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And what happened is that Pastor Francis called him, and he's telling me that Pastor Francis is calling him. This is Pastor Francis of Orlando. And then I called, um, then I'm on the phone with him, and she calls me after. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, she called him again during the process that we're having a discussion on the sample wedding invitation. Now, I believe the sample wedding invitation, if I'm not mistaken, I secured a venue on there, or the projected date was July 2017. And I already discussed in recent parts of this series how Satan tries to give you a satanic alternative. Okay. And so you may face some level of distraction of that nature. And in 2023, after I really got the full understanding, oh, Chris is my God given spouse, like God joined us together. I can't just go off and just go date someone else, although we're separated, which I thought, or originally I thought that way, but I couldn't after I asked God, can I go and date someone else or whatever? And so God helped me to understand um, that He can join people together, but they don't know that they're joined because they're not asking or seeking God. Because when you join together, you're walking together. Some of them call it dating. But then they separate, and then they go have a wedding ceremony with someone else and not realize that they're in adultery before God, because they're not asking God. They're not doing the ask, seek, knock. They're just going by how they feel or whatever the experience tells them. So it's good to ask, seek, and knock. Yes. And make sure you know before you go. Double check on how God feels about certain things, because He is the way, the truth, and the life, and anything outside of Him is whoredom and adultery, and you don't want to be in that. And I don't want you to be in that. So this video is done so that you can avoid and escape adultery, and be sanctified. So in 2023, when I had that understanding, after seeking God and everything, really I just thought to get closure, but I didn't know closure would lead to this. One of the things that I decided to do is that I decided to call Pastor Francis, and because I didn't have his number at that time, and my phone changed, and someone stole my other phones and stuff like that, and whatever. So one of the things that and communication between him and I stopped, I think, sometime in March of 2017. So one of the things that I noticed is that she wasn't really helping me. All I was saying that she could give his mother my number or give him my number. She didn't seem to want to do that. But she said he's there. And so I spoke to my uncle, and I told him what happened. And he realized that Pastor Francis wasn't really helping us. Like, she would see, okay, people saw that Chris and I had feelings toward each other or whatever, we were talking, and she didn't really help us. And so the Spirit of the Lord led me to, I believe it is, um, I believe it is Malachi chapter 2. Okay, yes. So what happened? I opened the Bible and I started reading Malachi 1. And this was after the conversation with my uncle, after I mentioned to him that I tried to reach out through Pastor Francis and whatever. And then I saw Malachi 2. Once I hit Malachi 2, I knew God was leading me to this part in the Bible. It says, "And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. If ye will not hear, and if ye will not lay it to heart to give glory unto my name, said the Lord of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because ye do not lay it to heart." And it goes on to say more. But once I saw the part where it's talking to the priest, the leader, that they're not laying it to heart. And my uncle said he noticed that Pastor Francis was not really like helping when it came to Chris and I. And so God is showing me that he is not pleased with how Pastor Francis dealt with Christopher Delgado and I. So that's what I get from it. I'm not saying that God is going to curse her or curse her, curse them and stuff like that. No, no, no. But being led to this after I read Malachi 1 and I saw part 2, and that's after the conversation, the Spirit of the Lord will lead me to this after this conversation, because God is with me. And so he will show me this is what's going on. She's not taking it seriously. I mean, for her to do a switcheroo, for her to not want to help me out to communicate with Chris, for her to say, behind his back that he will murder me, and he would not. I've seen the way he handled me in a very gentle manner. And that's the love of God in him, I believe, to a great degree. The fruit of gentleness, fruit of the spirit of gentleness. But I would not, I won't believe it, because I already was led to whatever scripture on the topic that lets me know that none of that is going to happen. No murdering is going to happen. But she's not taking it seriously, and I don't know if it's because she knows that I have devices and could hear me and think it's a game, because you have some people who think that they can just continue to play around and fool you because they listen to what your thought process is and they try to be ahead of it and try to fool you. Like, even if you want to show up somewhere, all of a sudden there's a line from here to there, like where all these people came from. That's some of the things, the petty things that they do to frustrate you. Or if you want to get out of Florida, they'll frustrate you on your phone, remote synchronization on your phone, and basically block you from getting a cheap fare to get out. Or they'll fool with you. Even when I was trying to get out to go back to New York City, where I know that I can find some work, unjustly arrested. And that was dismissed. But it took years before it could be dismissed. On the day that I'm trying to leave. And that's how the adversary will fight. So they will listen to fight because they're adulterers. Or they're Satanists. Wow, they just don't like you. I mean, but remember in John 15, before they can hate you, they had a hatred for God in some kind of way. And remember, when Chris told me that his mom didn't like me, although I never had a personal relationship with her, I sought God about the spirit behind that. And that too, if she really did feel that way, came probably from a spirit of adultery that wanted us to be divided if his mom didn't receive me. Or by him saying that is a spirit of adultery that wants us to be separated and him to go off with whoever or me to go off with whoever and not be in our God-given relationships. Because I believe the adversary can pick up and know, especially if it's God's will, they'll know when you're in God's will too. And they will fight against it. So, and you may have family that you may have to move away from. There was this situation where this young lady, it's like she felt like both her mom and her husband was monitoring her. And it could be that she have devices, they have devices, or wizards are now focused in, zooming in on that household and like making it a very uncomfortable space. And so you may have to move away from that in order to keep your marriage or to keep your sanity. Because they'll do things to drive you crazy and make you look like the one that he should have never married, kind of thing, or the one that he should never be with. Because one of the reasons why they have done a lot of things, these wizards, these evil angels or devils, they actually would say, because they don't want Chris to think of me. And so you may experience a lot being a wife. So it's not just coming in, being a wife, and happily ever after. You have a war room that you need to go into. You have prayer that you need to pray. You may need to pray more than you usually prayed as a single person or unmarried person. You may need to fast more. You may need to do, I guess, more in going to the house of the Lord, because it comes with a level of warfare, especially in America. So be aware of these things, these distractions that can happen, and be strong. Seek the Lord. Ask the Lord, what is the spirit operating behind this person's actions? If you start to see confusion or this, or your intimate moments being interrupted, stuff like that, seek the Lord. So God called us to spiritual marriage with him so that we may bear godly fruit. And so also in your earthly marriage, give it to the Lord that you may bring forth godly fruit within your marriage, especially children, if you're seeking to have children. Now, if you have devices, you may want to do gestational surrogacy. It may cost some money. You got to put some money aside, and then the adversary may fight you in this area so that you could never have the $5,000 to do it. But be aware that that is an option. You don't have to give up on parenting or your parent, being a parent, or your goals to be a parent. So seek the Lord, and you can adopt.